Hi everybody, welcome back. We got another tutorial here, and as you can notice, we are not on our tutorial course. We've actually moved over to one of my first TGC 2019 projects called Piper's Cove Golf Club. Hopefully soon to be released before the month is up, but we'll see depending on how busy I am. So today the topic is planting. So basically using the bushes, rocks, plants, trees to really just kind of spice up your course. Just add a little aesthetic to it. So I'm going to kind of show you a few of my techniques, what I like to do to kind of get a good natural look rather than a real forced look, which is something a lot of designers have told me. They try to plant, but everything kind of seems forced and fake. So I'm going to kind of show you some methods of trying to minimize that as much as possible. And we'll talk about certain bushes, plants, trees that I like, and maybe some others that are in there, but I would probably avoid. So that's what we're going to try to talk about today. And maybe a little disclaimer with planting is your results may vary from mine. I mean, this is a hard one to kind of give a tutorial on because everyone kind of has a different eye for, this kind of stuff. So what may seem kind of maybe easy for me might be quite difficult for other people. So I'm going to try to simplify it as much as I can, but we will do our best. So a couple things to know about planting is what you really need to watch out for. If you see a little yellow bar up here, this is called our planting meter. So the game gives you a certain number of objects that you're allowed to plant by hand on your course. Anything that's auto-generated, so all these auto-generated plants here, these don't count towards my limit. Okay, but everything you plant down by hand, it might be trees, bushes, rocks, clubhouses, anything like that. Surfaces like fairways or bunkers don't count towards it, but anything else basically does. Okay, and you want to make sure that this plant meter here doesn't get all the way over to this bar here. This is the maximum amount. If you get past here and you want to publish your course will not publish because you've reached the object limit. Okay, so something you kind of got to manage as you're going through your course. Okay, so as you can see with mine, I'm only about 2 or so holes in, and my plant meter's getting a little bit high. Let's see if we can get, there we go. A little easier to see. It's getting a little bit high, but I mean, once we get this hole done, I'm hoping not to get anywhere past about the C on Golf Club. That's my plan. And then we should probably be okay. But just keep that in mind. So, as you have different themes, the plants and trees and bushes differ. We are on the Highlands theme, so we're going to be looking at highlands, bushes, things like that. So we go to place objects, and pretty much all your objects planting things are in here. So we're primarily going to focus today on the nature side of things. These are all extra little add-ons you can add in, but I focus mostly on the nature part. So it's split up into trees, rocks, plants, grass, and then something called global plants. The global plants are a set of plants that you can plant on any course. It would be nice if you could plant, for example, these kind of trees on a tropical course or something like that. I wish they would kind of let people open up the box a little bit and try everything everywhere, but people putting pine trees on desert courses might look a little weird. Although on the other hand, you might be able to create something totally unique. But anyway, you can't do that. So anyway, it's split into trees. Trees usually contain, obviously, your trees, your bushes, and usually that's about it. Rocks, different rocks. These are usually the same shape rocks for every theme. They're just their texture is slightly different depending on the theme. Plants, these vary. Some themes have a lot of plants, some don't have many. Like for example, Highlands doesn't give you a lot of options for plants. And then you have some grass, lots of different types of grasses, things like that. And then your global plants. These are kind of more your flowering plants. There's a lot of things I avoid in here because some of these plants are ugly, but we'll get to that later. Okay, so a few different things. So right now I'm going to start by, I kind of want to create like a blank canvas. I mean, some of these bushes are good. I'm going to keep a lot of these here. But the stuff directly in my playing area, like these little stray grasses and things like that, I kind of want to plant this stuff myself. I'm going to start by deleting these. So if I go to Sculpt Land, and I go to Clear Generated Objects, I think we've covered this in a previous tutorial. And then you can just kind of move through and delete everything that's kind of close where you are. Okay? I'll try not to make this too long. I really like planting, and sometimes I get really carried away like this. I don't know if we're going to have time to plant the entire hole, but we're going to focus on a couple little places. Now, what I kind of want to look at on this hole is I want to plant something kind of right off the tee here. Maybe a nice little cluster of bushes and grasses. Maybe something in here, there's like a little natural depression. And then, you know, there's kind of some natural depression up here I might plant up in this way as well. So that's kind of our plan. Now, when you're thinking design and aesthetics and things like that, I always kind of like to put myself on the tee box here. And I say, okay, when the golfer gets here and the flyover happens, what are they going to see? What's their eye going to get drawn to? Well, obviously it's going to get drawn probably to this fairway and these bunkers. But how else can we catch their eye? So I'm thinking, well, what if we try to put, you know, something up here that looks a little bit attractive? So let's give that a try. So I'm going to go to Place Objects, Nature, and I'm going to start with some grass. Okay. Now you can't really go wrong with the grasses here. There's some good ones. There's a few little flowers here too, but let's start with some grass like this. Now, you don't just have to plant one piece of grass at once, which takes quite a while. If you click your left stick, it says multi-object. So I'm going to turn that on, and all of a sudden we have a whole bunch of grass now. And I can adjust how big the patch is. I can adjust how it's filled. So less objects, more objects. Okay, and obviously the more objects that are in that cluster, the more they add to your plant meter. Okay, so I just want you guys to watch right now. Watch how much the plant meter goes up just by planting, you know, multi-planting a bunch of grasses. You guys see the bar moving. It's slight, but it does move, and it moves quite a bit. It actually goes up and down a little bit. So, I mean, that's a lot of grass I've put there. So you just got to really manage it. Okay, so don't just say, oh, I'm going to plant grass everywhere. You're going to run out of objects by the second hole. Okay, so just pick and choose places where you want to put that. Okay, so, you know, I want to put a little bit here, so I'm going to, you know, add a few patches, kind of like this. And then I might add a second grass just to blend some stuff in here. Be something like this, maybe here. You know, something like that. You get kind of a blended look there. So there's my grass. Okay. Now I'm going to go move in over to my trees. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of layering. I start with grass and kind of work my way up. So there's lots of different bushes in the Highlands theme, which I like. And a few things you can do with it. You can multi-object it as well. You can add a whole bunch at once. You can rotate it. You can make it bigger or smaller. And you can also raise it or lower it into the ground, which is kind of a neat feature too. So, with this guy, I think we're just going to... Whoops, I lost him. There we go. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to very quickly plant, you know, 10 or 11 of these, okay? So, now depending on the console you use, this method works a little better than others. I'm on PC, but I just kind of call it spam planting. I try to make it as random looking as possible. So I pick a certain size, a rotation, and I'm just going to move my mouse or my controller around and just rapidly keep hitting the A button. So like this. Something like that. I'll put some bushes down. And then I might switch up the type of bush. You know, size, change that, and then I might do the same thing again. Maybe I'll do it one more time with maybe a gorse bush like this. Again, same kind of thing. I'm just kind of, well, just kind of spam planting here. I'll pick 4 or 5 different bushes. Something like that. And maybe we'll add a little extra color here with this guy. Okay, maybe we'll fill in some holes. I do tend to get carried away with this stuff. I like this stuff. I'll add a little bit more in here. And I mean, so there we go. We got a nice little kind of gorse bush area. And then we can layer it on with a few more things if we want. We can go into our plants. Maybe we got some bushes like this. We just add a few. Change the size every few clicks. Change the rotation. Add a few in there. Maybe some of these guys. Oh, not lilies. That'd look a little funny. Maybe a few of these. And again, I don't want to plant too far. Like, for example, if this is my tee shot here, I'm not going to spend my objects planting something up here. Okay, because that's not really visible unless you're looking for maybe the second hole. But I kind of primarily want to focus on this area here. Okay. So we can also look at... well, let's look at rocks. I mean, rocks can look good like this, but a method I like to use is take a rock and make it really, really, really big. Well, not really big, but sort of big. And maybe make like a rock outcrop. For some reason, the rock's size really small, really slowly. I don't know what the deal is with that. Hopefully that's something that gets fixed. So, I got a big rock here, and I'm just going to lower it into the ground a little bit. I might have done this maybe before I planted, but there we go. Add something like that. You switch up my rock. Maybe have a bigger stone, for example. That in there. Kind of don't want the plant showing over. There we go, something like that. You get kind of a little natural rock outcrop there. And I might add a little bit more, like for example, trees. You could maybe, if you want, maybe you want to make a different kind of bush. So maybe I could take an elm tree and sink it in the ground. And all of a sudden I've got maybe some different bushes like this. So that's another tip you can use. Just take the trees, sink them into the ground, and then you get some different kind of bushes. And global plants. So I want to talk a little bit about global plants. There's a few in here that are, I wouldn't really use that much. Like something like this, kind of a waste of plant. Unless you're doing like intricate gardens and things like that. Also, some of these plants don't show up very well at the light. They almost glow. And even from like a far distance, you can kind of see them glow and they look really out of place. So like I don't look at a lot of these plants. I very rarely use like these plants here. Like this one's hideous. Don't stay away from that one. But a few of these can work in gardens, but not really out on your golf course. But there are a couple in here I do like. One being this guy. This guy is my favorite. I find he's pretty versatile in pretty much any theme. And I will use this guy quite a bit. It just adds that little splash of color. Kind of grabs the golfer's eye there. I like these a lot. Something like that. These yellow ones are nice in certain situations. This one's a little bit bright for this theme. These guys are kind of single versions of those. And then, for some underbrush and stuff, you can use some of these green plants, but I tend not to really overdo these kind because they tend to kind of show up and glow a little bit more than the others. I don't know if that makes sense, but it can be a little distracting and it takes away from the rest of your planting. Sometimes it looks good though. And then if I want, I can actually go in to my grass, and there were a couple different flower types, so I can add a few flowers in here as well. Twist it, rotate it. I'll just kind of have fun with this, practice, do small chunks here and there. We got a nice little plant area right there so that we can see kind of off these back tees here. I mean, obviously here it looks a little odd, just this planting and then a whole bunch of barren. I'm going to do a few more other things, probably not in this tutorial, just to kind of make this look a little more natural, not just like I plop that there. But we'll see what we can do there. Let's see. Do I have anything else I want to talk about with planting? Just trying to think. I thought of this beforehand. Not really in terms of just the placing and things like that, but I mean, just kind of have fun with it. It takes some practice, and again, some people have a talent for this, and some people it's a struggle and it looks kind of forced and things like that. But just practice with it, have fun with it, and harness your inner Bob Ross and place some happy little bushes wherever you want. All right, that's going to do it, I believe, for this tutorial. I said we were going to plant up here and here, but that's going to turn into a 40-minute tutorial, and I want to keep these relatively short. So you'll probably see more planting here, well, hopefully once the course gets released. But for now, I'm going to stop here. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next episode.